eating Cheerios. Now over to John.
Trial Tuesday once again, everybody. It's been a little over a week now since the tragic Boston Marathon bombings. 19-year-old suspect Dzhokhar Tsarnaev was captured alive and is in custody right now. Yesterday, officials ruled that he would not be tried as an enemy combatant, but as an American citizen. Attorney David Aylor, the prognosticator of prosecution, joins us right now to weigh in on this politically charged and controversial topic. So, Counselor, yesterday that decision was made to not try him as an enemy combatant. There was a lot of speculation that perhaps they would, which would not allow him to Miranda rights that every other American citizen has. That did not happen. So where does this case go from here?
Well, essentially the case goes just like any other federal criminal case would go. He's going to have the same rights as you or I or any other civilian would. The issue that was at hand was folks like Senator Lindsey Graham here from South Carolina, as well as a lot of top Republican officials wanted to, basically designate him as an enemy combatant so that they would be able to continuously question him without the Miranda rights. Now, in actuality, since he has been read Miranda, if he decides not to speak on anything, whether he goes for a trial or a plea or whatever the case may be, that is obviously his legal right, because now it will go through the federal criminal justice system. However, it's important to point out that when people hear enemy combatant, they think, oh, that's going to mean, military tribunal. But
right.
No matter what, he was definitely still going to be within that civilian system.
President Obama has been pretty emphatic from the beginning of this that he wants this gentleman to be tried in a civilian courtroom and not by a military tribunal. What are the differences between those two things? And do you think that, I guess in terms of a defense, is that better for his lawyer to try and defend him in these heinous acts?
Well, ultimately, the issue at hand was whether or not if they did go with the enemy combatant, what would happen. However, it was clear that even as an enemy combatant, he still would have been tried in the civilian court. The military rules are completely different on a number of different things related to what your rights are and things like that. So being in the civilian system that you or I would be in, he's going to have a lot more rights and a lot more rights that are instilled that every American has.
Well, let's talk about this issue a little bit, because he is cooperating with investigators right now. We're hearing that he has some trouble speaking, but he's using head movements and some writing to actually, kind of corroborate and work with authorities that are trying to investigate, again, this heinous act. So do you think that he knows that he is in the right for a lawyer? Do you think he knows all of his rights as a citizen of this country?
Well, at this point, he's been read Miranda since he was charged yesterday, formally charged there at the hospital. At that point in time, he was read his Miranda rights. He has not put in any kind of plea, but he has been read those rights. So he has that availability, and he may even have an attorney or soon have an attorney and still continue to talk. Obviously, with the charge of the weapons of mass destruction here in the United States, with the deaths and everything, he's facing not only life in prison, but potentially the death penalty.
Well, it seems like an open and shut case to just about anybody, but you still have to go through a court case. You still have to go through a trial, and this has to be proven that this guy had knowledge of it and actually executed that bombing. So how do you go as a prosecutor or a defense lawyer right now? How do you try and defend him, and how do you try and prosecute?
Well, from a defense standpoint, honestly, this would be the time when you would not have him speaking with authorities. Right. You would be very fresh on the case, and you wouldn't want to have him speak with authorities at all. Now, at a later point, that may change, particularly with the evidence that may arise. From a prosecution standpoint, I don't think so much at this point are they concentrating on, whether or not they're going to be able to prosecute him, as much as what information they can gather from him that goes beyond just the initial incident that occurred.
Massachusetts does not have a death penalty law, although these will be federal charges. So do you think his defense lawyer will try and get him to take a plea so he can avoid the death penalty?
Absolutely. If in fact there shows a lot of evidence, because remember, no matter what anyone thinks about this individual and the horrific acts that happened, he is still innocent until proven guilty in any court of law here in the United States. So ultimately, though, if there was more evidence to come about, and it looked, from the defense perspective that a trial would not be beneficial to him, then yes, there could be some sort of plea deal that would occur where, he relayed information, communicated to them the intelligence they were looking for, right, and in return for that was able to get a life sentence. But also you have to think about the victims here. They're going to have a strong voice in that.
All right, another legal issue, of course, if he does go to trial, having that within the city of Boston, can he get a fair trial? We'll cover that down the road. But Counselor, for now, we say thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it as always. And more after the break, so make sure you stay with us.